Hello, friends. It's E. Giuliano. It is 12th of May, 2021. It's time for a weekly roundup. This is a historic weekly roundup, must be. What crazy action. Thanks for being here. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at the price charts. Okay, we're going to look against BTC, altcoins against BTC. We'll run through a few of them, a number of them, and take a look. I mean, just right away, we've heard about Luna, of course, by now. We'll take a look at the chart, but I mean, just this number right here, just take a moment of silence on that one. All right, we'll start up with the Dogecoin. A lot has happened since the previous video. With Dogecoin though, you know what? Now we see how it makes more sense that potentially we could have accumulation within a zone here. The danger is that you fall towards this type of price action lower down. So best case scenario is some accumulation for Dogecoin against BTC. Okay. Moving on to NEAR against BTC. Wow, just like others, this is a weekly price chart. NEAR against BTC. Strongly fallen through this channel. Okay, so hopefully there are lots of lessons to learn here. Also strongly rejected at this line finally here, broken down after the overlap here, coming from the low to the high of this channel to the top of the Bollinger Band, breaking through the 20-week moving average. Just like everything else, its time was now. It was slowly and then suddenly capitulation. So who knows what this continues looking like, but potential strength here for NEAR is to stay within this channel and accumulate and at best, at some point, whenever that may be, get up and over the beginning of this cloud and basically find yourself kind of at this halfway level here going forward into 2023. Otherwise, getting below here for 2022 is, I think, it now looking likely. I think you could break down in these charts against BTC and at least come towards these levels again for many altcoins and reaccumulate lower. And then the question is, when, if ever, do you get higher? And yeah, what does that look like? We'll see at that point. But at this time, it looks like something like NEAR and others, I'm going to guess, because I haven't really looked through them carefully, is that they're going to look like they could probably break down further. Now, the only saving grace is that, okay, maybe there is enough buying pressure that it does keep it above here and you get up and over and you're strong into 2023 against BTC. Yeah. But I think at this point, I'm guessing you go lower and then BTC goes higher against USD so that when the altcoin rebounds and goes higher against BTC in this chart, it's at a lower level and then it can go lower again further against BTC. That's a possible pathway. All right, that would make sense to me. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But it looks like you're just starting a bear cycle on this one, you know? And that's what it seems like. This is a weekly price chart. We'll see though, we'll see. This is NEAR against BTC. RUNE, oh wow, all the way back down to 1,000. Oops, that was the wrong move. There's the right move. Oh, back into the triangular shape that was formed by this base here and the downtrending, which was resistance, became broken through. Yeah, okay, well, here on this one, yeah, broke down this line that we had here, and which was coinciding with the 20-week moving average, all in one big capitulation type of candle, getting some support at this level. We'll see what happens, but my guess is continue further horizontally if you can stay at this lower end of Bollinger Band. Otherwise, you know, this one at least has gone through some correction already. It's taken all of this time of correction, so we'll see what this ends up looking like overall. Maybe it could have some strength here if it finds support in this rectangular region here, lower end of the Bollinger Band at this type of price action. Then I'd say that's a good sign. Higher lows. Okay, that's really the best you can ask for against BTC with your alt. Okay, yeah, negative momentum starting, here on the MACD, and RSI doesn't necessarily show us anything other than the downward movement. So we take on Atom against BTC. Atom against BTC crashed through the Ichimoku cloud a few weeks ago, and had a bit of support at this type of line, but yep, okay, looks like we're coming down to this blue. I don't think we're there yet. We're kind of at the midway at this price level action here, okay? And yeah, it looks like we'll likely come down lower. Then the question is, does it give another type of deviation below or not? We'll find out. But this is Atom against BTC. Okay, yeah, just like that, it's still kind of on the upper end of the positive end of the MACD signal lines, even though they're just starting here now to dip down below to the negative end. So maybe this is going to be the biggest part of the dumping. But then again, as it kind of balances out, price can still go lower. Like that's where you can sometimes have the capitulation, and that gives maybe divergences on the MACD or RSI. Okay, so we'll see, but we have a general sense of where this could be going. And then here is the featured painting at the beginning of our episode is Luna. So that's just KO at the top. This is a KO. You just got KO'd. I mean, it's not fun for the people who got hurt, but we've all gotten hurt at some point in our lives, whether we chosen to or not. And my heart goes out to all of us for the human condition. But ultimately, we're all here fighting for a better world, I hope. And in that sense, you're either for or against increased centralization, depending what you think a better world is made of. But here we talk about Luna and today's world, this week's world. This week in Luna is the dead candle. And I don't know what comes of this, but I think it came at a very big crossroads. You had this horizontal support that was breaking down, 20-week moving average breaking down, a channel that was kind of uptrending and breaking down. And then you had this big long trend line. I mean, generally a price would maybe, if this was just part of another BTC dump, that was maybe BTC was going down to 29K or 25K or whatever, but Luna was not crashing yet. UST was still providing 20% APY and all that. Maybe it would have only have crashed to this level. That makes sense in that world. But in the world where the UST and the Luna were basically invalidated by the market, the candle shows that. Incredible. We'll see where this week ends off. We're towards the end of the week, but I mean, this is a dead candle now. And then we'll see what happens after that. Yep. All right. Now these are against BTC again, just to consider. So look at the structures being created now against BTC. For instance, this is MATIC. If this level doesn't hold, okay, then we're coming down here. So here's our next little target level. Good and good. There's a target. So we'll see what happens there. You might get a little intermediate action here, but at this point, if you could get a bounce here towards the Ichimoku cloud, at least that gives you some time. And then you could hope for a consolidation that leaves you at this type of horizontal level of the low of the channel. That would be super ideal. But generally, something that moves up like this and then moves down, what did we say, about 50% or so? Maybe only 38, yeah, so 61%. So that was a decent move, but then it fails on the next leg up. It didn't even really beat that. Then, even though it did technically close higher than the previous closes, but only for a little bit. Meaning then, yeah, you're likely, okay, look, this is a big candle down, so it could have some greens up, but then the overall momentum of this play is down towards this zone down there. But like I said, if you can get enough of a balance towards here and somehow you get support here because of the market activity and the adoptive use case, because as we see on BNB, there's a reason that that chart looks different than all the others, and that I don't know what the reason is. I'd love to get an expert to help me understand that, but it's really network effects, obviously, and anyway, we can talk about it when we get to BNB, I guess. Yeah, we're just diving into the negative territory on the momentum here. So I think on a weekly time frame, you go lower to the lower levels. This is against BTC, right? The altcoins can bleed much more against BTC, as always. So that was MATIC against BTC, and now we get to AVAX against BTC. Wow. It took a while, but it was a lot of sideways and then a nice move down towards the lower end of the channel. But you know what? Overall, structurally, we become at a crossroads here. What's going to happen? Are we actually going to see it? Is it actually going to do that? You know, I've been looking at that potential for a while, and now the patterns are playing out and showing us ways that it could happen. The other form is obviously it stays here and then kind of goes higher. Okay, fine, I can offer that as well as a possibility. And then the other is it just continues breaking down further. You know, maybe it just goes here. It doesn't make such a clean shoulder up to this kind of resistance. But yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, this is here now already at the lower end of the channel at this horizontal resistance, support level. So yeah, we'll see what Avalanche does at this point. This is a key level, key zone, and I won't be surprised if we get the price up here and then the potential of a move down here. It'll all depend, again, for just similar to BNB, all these charts, they set themselves up because it's the market acting. And so same thing with Luna, it set itself up for that candle, but didn't mean the candle was coming, but it came because that market activity made it happen. And the market activity is the real market of the thing, if it has one, and also its traded market. But in the sense of Luna, it was also like the factor was its network effect. It turned its own market into basically a destruction, its own self-destruction. Yeah, so what's going to happen with Avalanche is going to depend on how it goes. But you know, even with these momentums, it could have a little bit more negative momentum and then some sort of sideways action, which means maybe it has to happen down here at these levels. I don't know. But hey, if you're even making a higher low than this, ultimately, then you're in solid ground, I think, for here's end of 2022, beginning of 2023. So, I mean, at this point, if you're going down there, might as well make it look nice or something. I don't know, whatever, we'll see. This is against BTC, right? Don't know what that means for the dollar versions, but that'll depend on what happens with BTC against the dollar. So, you know, AVAX against USDT or whatever, not against UST if that was ever a market. Maybe though, maybe that'll come back, right? Anything can happen in the market. Let's say that. So that was Avalanche. And now Solana, similar. They're all playing their big, you know, we got a big punch against the BTC chart. So it broke down this channeling. So let's see if it stays down there. And if so, then yeah, this lower box is our target. And I think that's totally fair. And in that case, why wouldn't Avalanche do the same thing? Maybe not though, right? Because maybe that means something about Solana's situation versus Avalanche's situation compared to BTC. Also, this is earlier in the scenario. You know, well, wait, I don't know if it is. Let's just go back to Avalanche and look at their momentums. Yeah, it seems like it's close, but I think on a weekly time frame, that was Avalanche, and then we get to Solana. Seems like Solana has been a little bit more on the negative for a bit longer, but doesn't matter. They're kind of in the similar place. Having said that, though, there's a bit of a different angulation. Like from this point is a downward angulation, downward momentum. So looks like, yeah, maybe it'll deviate and then get back above, but generally, and then, hey, does it go up here and then keep coming down? I don't know, but I think this level maybe in 2023 could be the target. Maybe this zone here in 2023, that would be a solid chart. If this only goes down here before going up again higher, that would be, I mean, yes, that would be a beauty chart for people who are involved with that. And that would mean something about the network of Solana in terms of people using it. And that would be, because if you look at the ones that seem to be the, you know, the altcoins against BTC that seem to have constructive charts where they are inflationary against BTC in the sense of like they grow against BTC rather than, you know, deflationary where they just keep going down against BTC. So maybe that's the opposite. I don't know the proper words to use for that, but basically that's the sense I'm trying to give. So yeah, if it can be one of those building charts, then that would mean something about the network effect. And that's great. Okay, good. All right. But there will be others. Whoops. No, that's not what I wanted to do. There will be others. There will be others. So Solana looks like, again, continued. Everything looks like it'll have continued negative momentum generally. What does it mean for levels? So I gave the sense of where Solana is going. Now, in terms of FTM here, FTM against BTC, I see it coming down towards here again. Like, why not, right? So it's going to come down here at the least, and then can it hold that level, or is it going to go down further? So this, I mean, this itself is a very big dump. Like even from these levels, it's a big dump. So wonder if the market will ever learn, if the crypto market will ever learn about these cycles and what it feels like when you're going up and should be getting rid of it, and what it feels like when it's going down, and how long you should actually wait before you find your bottoms. These are important ideas. Like that's what this whole weekly roundup is about, really, is about finding long-term price action and understanding it and finding accumulation and distribution and yeah, and watching how price develops and learning something from that. So let's do that. I'm glad you're here for that. Hit a like button, hit a comment if you're still watching. I mean, hope it's been enjoyable for you all along and that you're seeing it play out. It feels good to be watching this. And if you're watching it along with me, I appreciate you for that. So yeah, that was FTM. Going to fall down to that lower end, it seems. Again, none of this financial advice, any of it, but it's the sense that we're getting based on this price action. Oh yeah, so even DOT looks like it needs more negative momentum, but I get the sense that DOT could have a good go at the next one. I mean, it's kind of been, you know, bouncing around in a bit of a horizontal nature. So let's see what this looks like here. Is it just going to be this level? You know, but now we're basically there. So yeah, what does that mean? Is it just going to kind of bounce down and dribble a bit and then you get a bit of chop and then go higher? Or do you come and touch and tag your low of lows? Like those are two basic options there. And then other than that, currently you're in a downtrending channeling move, and yeah, you broke out of it. So maybe that's the end, and now you kind of go sideways a bit, and maybe it still breaks down lower, but really you're in your finishing formation for then some sort of accumulation. That would be hot. Then you're making a higher low, and that would be relatively good information to know about DOT against BTC. But we'll be there when we're there. For now, you know, it's definitely a good place to nibble. If you're nibbling, none of this financial advice, but you nibble and then you keep nibbling rather than trying to stuff all of your plate in your mouth at once. Okay, DOT against BTC. Now, having said that, at this point, I don't know, it's everybody's own risk reward appetite and whatever fundamental analysis they're looking at. Like, for example, we look at XMR and you think, okay, fundamental analysis, privacy tech. Well, it's nice to have XMR because it gives us long life of price action. And so it's, you know, it's from, let's say, end of 2016, so into 2017. And so what are we, like 5.5 years here? Now we're into this, maybe even 6 years of price action. So in that case, yeah, we're still making higher lows than this. So if that can hold, maybe this kind of keeps coming down a bit. But if you can hold these levels here, XMR, then you're set for the next bull. you are set for the next bull if that's coming anytime soon. And this brings you towards beginning of 2023. So hey, that looks good for XMR. Can you hold these lows? And that's also an idea. It's like, okay, let's zoom in and say below the 200 moving, below this Ichimoku cloud, we've been rejected. Below this horizontal level, which was previously important price action, we got rejected. Even down below this downtrending again, so we kind of got rejected there too. Top of the Bollinger Band, we're at the 20 weeks, so maybe it bounces here, but might as well look to go towards the lower end of the Bollinger Band in terms of like accumulatory price action. So yeah, I think that's a good story for XMR, and we'll see if and how that plays out. And in terms of momentum, it's got a much cleaner momentum because it had this huge move here. But when we look at shock waves and things like that, it's like, is there something that can create a shock like this that happened with Monero relatively in this level here? Is that going to happen? And if so, when and how? And is that the case for any other previously long-standing coins like Komodo or anything else, XRP, ICX, ARC, all kinds of things. Okay, so let's look at ETH against BTC. So ETH against BTC holding up relatively well. We're at the lower end of this channel. So I think next step is this horizontal level here, which matches the 20-week moving average, I'd say. And in that case, then you're breaking down this whole uptrending flag type of move here. I don't know what we want to call that right now. But what it'll ultimately, oh, this is a monthly pattern. Well, there you go. There's your like M formation if you want. You move up, make an M, and then come down. That could be. Good thing is you got Ichimoku cloud. Oh, yeah. You've got Ichimoku cloud. You've got 200-week moving average here on top of some good price action and at the level of good price action. So good resistance becomes support. That's great. Good support from previous historical becomes support. That's great. And that relates to this also previous kind of resistance type price action. Is 200-week, but then you're below Ichimoku, which that's in itself, you want to get back above it. Otherwise, you're signaling that it might take some more time below. And then when you start getting below 200, well, look, that's tougher even more. But the 200-week is horizontal, so that's a good sign. Maybe you just come down to here. That's great. That would be good if you can get back in. Worst, even better case scenario is you find a horizontal level here, and this uptrending thing doesn't matter so much. And you base here into the cloud, and wherever it finds its final home before going higher. Here's the beginning of 2023. So I think that's a good soft landing for Ethereum, possibly. Okay, why not? We'll see what it looks like though, ultimately. Okay, be careful out there on a weekly time frame. Momentum can totally go into the negative again. Having said that, it's had some strong negative momentum recently, but it hasn't had an accumulatory momentum yet. So, and RSI, by the way, as well, is kind of well, at least it's in a neutral zone, but it's on the downtrend, and it is it's only halfway, so it could go a lot further down. However, having said that, then it becomes at this midway point where it can find some chop and then some turnaround back to positivity. So we'll see what that ends up looking like. Danger of coming down to these price levels is that then you've made a decent higher low than this structure here, and then what happens after that? Does it find its own downward slope against BTC over long term? We'll find out. That this is going to be amazing to watch. I wonder if in 2025 we'll be here and we'll see the shape of this chart, and will this price action be actually down here? Oh my goodness, that would be wild. I'm not saying that's the case, and in another case, maybe it's like around here in 2025, making it at these higher highs, looking for support at like the zones of the previous all-time highs. Who knows? It'll be interesting. I mean, I think the biggest thing is the fact that we'd be here at that time. That would be lovely. All right. So looking at that as a you know, a well wish, let's fucking move on to the next one. Yeah, wishing everybody that love, peace, and happiness, and also the, you know, the health, and of course then the wealth and the prosperity, and really though ultimately is the right to property. That's what we're looking. That's what I'm wishing for as well. And so in that sense, we have XRP. Everybody has the right to XRP. Is this going to become, you know, the ball sack and the thing there, or is this going to become a different kind of rocket? Okay, you know, what's going to happen is the market for XRP going to go limp, or is it going to find some arousal to the upside? And that's where XRP seems like that's on the monthly though. When we take it to the weekly, here again, you have the you have that price action, but on a weekly time frame, it shows you a bit more details. You know, we can zoom right in there, and yeah, it's like what's going to happen. You know, here's the beginning of 2023. So what's going to happen there? Until then, we have basically this time here. So that's XRP, and it's really more about time analysis than anything, because at this point it's another one of those price charts where look at all this volatility and there's all this higher BTC price, but then over time it has moved down. So what comes out of the ashes this time for crypto is the big question. That's kind of what all of these lines and channels and everything, that's what it means. It means, are these going to be dead, or are they going to come to life? And to what degree? And it's not all or nothing. So it might be one of them. A lot of people are wondering if it's going to be XRP. A lot of holders of XRP, aren't there? I mean, I'm not financial advice. Okay, none of this. So let's see what happens to XRP. Right now, it's kind of, okay, if we go and do a bit more price analysis over time analysis, not that we did any like quantitative time analysis, we did more like, you know, all of this price and time. We're squeezing, but look, we're going to the lower end of the Bollinger Band. We're breaking down below this horizontal level that we had previously marked out. So yeah, it looks like we could come back down to this type of price level here if need be. Again, these are pricing as BTC, so they can just keep going lower. That's just the fact of the fact that BTC keeps going up against USD. And if these are priced against USD, and they need to be at a certain USD price based on their market and what's happening and what they're used for and all these other things, you know, basically demand and supply and network effect and velocity and all these kinds of factors. Yeah, like what? Otherwise, then it just takes time. It just over time it just continues. So we're going to see. There's potential for the ones that actually have something to bring to the market for real and something that actually lasts. Because I do think that everything is a game of attrition. So that XRP chart, yeah, it could go up, but I think it's like Dogecoin. It's kind of in maybe a continued accumulation phase, you know, if it's going to go up. Otherwise, it's going to be one of those ones that just, yeah, it'll go up, but it'll also come down, and overall, its overall trend will be down. So that's a big question about Chainlink. Is Chainlink going to be one of those that just keeps going down after it had its big move up? It had a very nice orderly move up. Maybe this will be another one that over time against Bitcoin makes higher lows and has a structure that is generative. It's growth against BTC, not something that kind of stays down and keeps going down. In terms of Chainlink, I mean, it's not quite in the oversold position on the RSI, but it is making lowest of lows on the weekly time frame that we have. And in terms of the MACD as well, like I get the sense that at some point everything turns around. So where will this turn around though? This is a good level to stop. And then this was previously meant to be the probably bigger level to stop. So yeah, I'm guessing we're coming down here towards this lower level, because basically from this level here down to this level is the zone. Yes, there was this nice support, but if we break the support, obviously it's down here. And so the support is not as necessarily as strong. However, if it does hold in this green line, not just for a little bit, but it shows that it's fighting it well, then actually, you could have an argument. But at this point, it looks like we're coming down here and that's at minimum. If not, then you're coming down to this kind of level here, and just hope that you make a higher low structurally. That's always the biggest hope against BTC for any altcoin, make a higher low on the macro scale. All right, that's Chainlink. And then now another one that really does confirm its higher low structure over time. This one's not as big as long as Monero for time, but it is a longer term chart. It's almost 5 years. And here is its higher low right here, higher than this, and it had even high structurally higher than this, but basically this was this was the low area here, this zone here. I mean, if you don't hold this level here, then you're definitely down to this level. So basically this was the higher low here that you needed to make, and you made it. You made a nice higher low, and now you're all the way up here above your previous highs that were the highs before the lows of the higher low. And now you're above them and consolidating. BNB against BTC. Got a nice soft Ichimoku cloud below, just like Ethereum. So they're showing good sense of growth now at this crossroads again. Here. So you get some rejection. You tried to get above the 20-week moving average, but no, you didn't. So you spiked down even lower end of the Bollinger Band, looking towards the Ichimoku cloud, but you're back above this halfway zone here. So that's pretty good, all things considered. BNB got a nice buy up right there. So whatever that means, I mean, it is its own network effect. It does have its, Binance company and all of whatever goes on there around the BNB token. Not in a negative way, but it has its own market. It has its own network and what its network does and uses and how it does use it. And so needless to say, it's got strength. It's got strength unlike any other. I mean, even compared to Ethereum, structurally, Ethereum is at lower highs than its all-time highs. BNB is basically at all-time highs of its highs. Well, I guess you could say not technically not, because currently the price is lower than this price action here. But what I'm saying is you're still within a structure that is at a higher high, this whole structure, than the previous highs. Whereas Ethereum is in a place where its structure is at a lower high than its previous higher high structure. So yeah, anyway, so this is a really strong version. 200 week is all the way down here, but if you're touching 200 week at this level, then you're below Ichimoku and you're struggling for a bit. So I think BNB gets to stay up here and have this reaccumulation phase, unless something happens with BNB and that messes with its network and its function, and then it somehow has a dump down as well. I don't know how that would work or what that would look like, but in terms of momentum, it definitely has room for negative momentum here. Yeah. So what does that mean in terms of price? We'll find out. It's not going to be going higher. That's the sense I'm getting. But is it going to be making further moves down, like below the cloud? We'll find out. I don't know. We're going to see. That'll be exciting to watch, to see what happens with the BNB price chart. My sense is, though, it's strong enough to stay with at the cloud. You might touch the cloud and stuff, but I don't think it's going to go below. But then again, you're still at a higher, you're now at a lower high than the previous lower high, which is structurally lower high than the higher, like the all-time high. So you're making a series of lower highs. So that is the negative, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like, why is this not a big M formation? I don't know. It could play like that, where this becomes distribution here, and it does break down below, and then it takes time, and then it's at a big channel, and it's able to go higher at that point. Maybe that does come into play. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that can't happen either. I would say that's relatively likely as well. Maybe it's not the red channel. Maybe it's the yellow channel. I don't know. But something like that. Okay, so that's BNB. I think that's fair to say. It's been interesting to watch all of these price actions, because to see those big candles down and to see where the price is now, like it's good to see that when price is making its big pumps on long time frames, it's reasonable to get out. None of this financial advice, but look, it does come down, especially against BTC. That's the point. If you're looking to make more BTC, then this is a great place to keep an eye out for long-term information. And once again, we're at this 200-week moving average. We're getting our support there, but now we're in a weaker position. So it's definitely an accumulation here. So I'm going to get rid of this up here where it was previously of interest. And I'm going to move it down here. And that relates to here as well. And we're just going to drag this across. And we're going to say this is where you need to find your accumulation and holding. Then you have a nice new base of all of this compared to what you had over here. And then you have potentially an opportunity to make some sort of a big move against BTC. And the good thing you have going for you right now is you've got, although you had a previous all-time high and then a lower high, now you've made a higher high again. So that's a good thing. And if you can make a lower low than you did all the way back here, then you're on an uptrend of a significance. And then you got to look for making the next higher high. Otherwise, you're not one of the growth charts, and then you've become maybe potentially one of the deflationary charts where it just keeps going down against BTC over time, even though you get your moves up in between. So yeah, that's origin trail, right? TRAC against BTC on the weekly. So I'm gonna get rid of the trend line that we had going. And we're just looking for this horizontal zone. So now I'm looking down here. Look, we're at the 200-week moving average. So best case scenario is you hold at the 200-week. That's the top end of this box. That's at the previous supports. I mean, resistance is here. I didn't mean supports. I meant previous resistances. So you're getting support at the previous resistances. So that's best case scenario. Otherwise, if you have to come down lower here, then you're below 200-week moving average, and then you really risk coming down further down to this level. In which case, you know what, then you're making this really full reset, and then wow. Otherwise, yeah, let's see how that works. Momentum-wise, still looks like it needs to find its time. So yeah, like into 2023, spring of 2023 is where you could see an alt season against Bitcoin. That's the sense I'm getting, right? You come down here, I don't know what you do, and then spring of 2023, you could go, and that's if you're lucky at this point. Looks like who knows what's going to get to go against BTC next and when. Because in between there's going to be something that's going against BTC. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't think it's going to, but in this time, just like Chainlink was like the bull during the bear, there's going to be a bull during a bear. That's the basic thing I'm going to say. I think that's how it's going to work. And I'm not saying this is going to be a prolonged bear or something like that. I don't even like using the word bear, but it does give the sentiment, and that's what actually I'm talking about. I'm actually, this part of the bear is actually probably the accumulation part of the bear, which is, towards the latter end of the bear. It's not the beginning of the bear, and it's not the middle of the bear. It's towards the end. It's where you accumulate, because the next part after that is where you move to the upside. It's the bull. So yeah, in terms of the cycle, and we're moving towards what seems like a more of a accumulatory phase, but just the beginning of a accumulatory phase for altcoins against Bitcoin, where you're still at the knife catching phase as well, somewhat. Okay, I hope that made sense. And so we are going to look at DERO. Wow, yeah, DERO broke down to the lower end of the Bollinger Band, broke down below the Ichimoku cloud. So best case scenario for DERO is a sideways accumulation. But when you make a structure that has come up like this, you got to have a lot of, core strength, network strength to maintain this kind of structure. But the fact that you're below the Ichimoku, it just creates and then the more you're testing this, the more likely it can go lower. So this is going to be the level you're going to want to keep for DERO. The problem is, once you're down in this zone, you've made a lower low than this. And in that case, it's probably, look, we've got this already laid out here. I'm going to change the color. And the style. So it's down there, and I mean, that's at best would be your next level, your next bet. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay. We're going to see what happens. All right. So that's DERO. I mean, nothing much else to say other than, wait, do we see a 200 moving average? Oh, it's a 9. What? Where's our 200? Good thing we found. What? It is a 200. Oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong number. Okay, NA 200. So where is that? Am I blind, or it's just, oh, NA not available. There's not 200 candles here. My bad. Okay. All right, so that's DERO, no 200 moving average. And the momentum, again, yeah, it looks like it just doesn't necessarily need to dump like this. It could, but at least it needs to sideways. And at least if you get that, then, well, it doesn't mean the price is just going to literally go sideways. It can still keep going down at the same time. So yeah, we look for this level to hold. Otherwise, we're coming down to this level. And yeah, the other factor is that you go up, then you come down, you can't make higher highs. So generally you keep coming down to the next level. And can you hold that level? Otherwise you come down. And if you do hold that level, then you go up. It seems to be the idea. So let's see what happens about that. But yeah, right now the trend is down again for DERO. Okay, there you have it. We are moving on to Icx. Monthly still from the last time we did the monthly update, but a lot has changed since then. We are touching the lower end of this. We are making lower lows. There you have it. Icx makes lower lows against BTC. So there you go. It's one of those type of moves. Oh, and what's the point of a trend line here? No, it's not telling us anything. Is it going to be a deviation and we get to come back above? One argument is you're at the lower end of the Bollinger Band, and it might just need more accumulation if this is going to be an accumulation zone for all of the cryptos. And Icx has already had a pretty narrow, accumulatory momentum on a bigger scale, but now on a smaller scale, it can have more smaller one. And then this whole thing becomes a big accumulation, but the next move would be to go to the higher end here. Maybe it doesn't get all the way. We have a couple of levels here that are carved out. We'll see what that would look like. But yeah, you're at the lower end of the Bollinger Band, and you're making lower lows. So you could keep going lower, but there's a good chance also this is, yeah, and watch it play out, but there's a good chance this is going to be like a Dogecoin, like maybe even XRP. It's going to be some sort of accumulation zone. And yeah, maybe it needs to go down lower first and then come back over and then find whatever it needs, wherever it's going to find it before it's time. And here is the beginning of 2023. So yeah, you have this kind of zone here. You have whatever it's going to need. I don't know what it's going to look like, but this time, here's 2023, and here's like the spring of 2023. So yeah, it could do that, and that is 6 to 10 months away. So there you go. Markets are brutal sometimes, aren't they? Well, even with BTC, but BTC seems to be the one that is the safe haven. I mean, look, don't get me wrong, Hex USD, we could take a look at that one as well before we move on to THETA, which got wrecked as well, like so many others. And I use the word wrecked kind of liberally there because THETA did not get wrecked the way that Luna got wrecked. And, you know, some might say, oh, Hex is getting wrecked or whatever, but it's got this horizontal support still. But yeah, you know what, it gets rejected at 20 weeks. So it's probably in a bit of an accumulation phase as well. It just finished a big bout of negative momentum, had a tiny week of bullishness here on the MACD, and then it's making a MACD bearish cross again on the weekly. So question is, you know, it's making lower highs the way down. So does that mean it's going to make another lower low? That's the big question. And in that case, it could be, you know, where are we going next? Yeah, this is the next real strong level here. Maybe you say here. So we can start here because you have this kind of resistance and then support level. And then we can stay here because, I mean, same thing. Resistance is support and also broken through that resistance. So there's Hex for you. I mean, great. Good job. Okay. So yeah, but considering like against BTC, THETA just broke down the 200-week moving average and is making its ways back into these price levels. That's wild. That's the dangers of when you're below an Ichimoku cloud with an altcoin against Bitcoin on a weekly price chart. Could spell, you know, 6 feet under forever type of action. But anyway, you're getting closer to capitulation. It feels like, it seems like, look, you're at the near oversold area, but it definitely can go lower and whatever. But hey, this is actually a great level if it can hold this. You got this beginning price level, a bit of deviation there. Then you get again here this action, a bit of deviation down here too, but also this kind of supportish stuff. And so boom, we do that, and it's like, okay, there you are. So if this can be your thing, then you hold there, and you find this, you know, this level that you're in now, which we've already carved out. But probably maybe it needs to, oops, maybe it needs to hold. I'm just looking at this price action. I forget it. Doesn't matter. We're in it. We're at the lower end of it, kind of below it. But I want to go towards this. That's what I want. Okay. So if you can kind of stay in this range, then you'd be accumulating, and you'd be accumulating around the 200-week moving average, and it would give the opportunity for the 200-week moving average to basically just stay flat, and you'd be accumulating around it. That would be, I mean, if it starts doing this into 2023, then you're hopefully in a good position. Oops, whoa, I did the opposite of what I wanted. The other scary part of that is that it could be just a redistribution that then takes you further, and then you get this kind of a zone as your price action for reaccumulation type thing. So that's the scary part about this chart, I think, on the big time frame, is one of these. So be careful of that with THETA. Having said that, that's why accumulation zones are good. You don't have to go all in all at once. And again, none of this financial advice, but it gives some time. That's what accumulation zones are good for. And I think that's it. You know, we're below 200 weeks. So the best thing is we can just kind of flatten out here, but it looks like it wants to take further negative momentum. I don't know, it needs to match this energy here. It needs to be matched with the well, where does the energy go? It doesn't get destroyed. This energy doesn't get destroyed. It goes somewhere. It goes into this, goes into what comes after, goes in, the price. Okay. So yeah, but in the sense that theta looks like it's a place where it could accumulate. If that's the case, if it becomes a redistribution, that would signal that it's not a reaccumulation. Instead of doing that, it would be a redistribution, and then to do that, then or whatever was shown before. If you're going down instead, then that has to do with the network and what the network is doing and what the supply and demand for the market is on theta against BTC, and is what's happening. So it'll be interesting to see, and I guess the charts play those out. It's based on the expectations of the crowd and also the actuality of it and what usage there is and the ways in which it's used and locked up and blah blah blah. Depending on what there's so many nuances to these, so I don't even want to blah blah blah. There's just too much to talk about. Okay, but yeah, just like others, you go up and then you come down, but it's never a straight path up. But this has been brutal. But it looks like it'll come to its end and it'll find its accumulation. And if Cardano can accumulate above the 200 week, that's ideal. But if it can't, then it has to come kind of down to this level here. Let's just carve it out here. If it has to come down here, then, and let the 200, well, that feels a little too far below the 200. You really need it to stay above that 200. If you can find some sort of accumulation here, and then get back, even if you can get back above that, and that's your ideal scenario right there. If the price action is doing that, there's a really good chance that you're in a decent place. However, if it's here and it's going to break down further, that's definitely possible. It's who knows how exhausted this price action needs to be before it's over. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, look at all of this positive momentum. Where does that have to go? Now, again, if we look at Bitcoin, yeah, there are some long-term price charts where in Bitcoin, the positive momentum just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And yes, then the crashes get bigger as well, but they don't necessarily even go into the negative sometimes. So it's possible. It depends on the market and the usage and what's happening with it. And so it'll indicate what's happening here around Cardano. And currently, this whole thing is just, yeah, kind of in this downtrending. So where will it end? We'll find out. Obviously, nobody knows. But look, price action does work. Look, lines work when we carve them out nicely. And in this mid range of this bigger range, the mid range acted as a resistance, and it just was enough. After a while, it dumps. Right? So after the price was down here, goes up to a higher level, comes back down here, and when it goes up at that mid range, it rejects decently within 2 weeks of price action, and then in this week it gives the dump. I mean, this was a bit ruthless, this dump, right? It didn't give us more time, but generally that's what happens when the breakdown is coming. The breakdown is coming. Like, for example, this. Oops, oh, that's a big part of the breakdown. Here you get a big breakdown there, but that's one that can be repaired because at that point the market was in a different state, and the life cycle, the market cycle at that point was in a different place. It was a correction. It was a correction within an up, like it was a down correction within an uptrend. Okay, so here we are with ADA. Where are you going to go? I am not clear, but it's definitely either sideways accumulation or further down before sideways accumulation. The next question becomes, what happens. Goodbye there, horizontal line. I mean, you served us well, but I never thought that it was going to do one of these. That was wild. Yeah, what happens next for Cardano? It's either this, oops, it's either this, something there, but it's hard to play around the 200 for too long. I mean, it'll either break down eventually or it'll bounce away from it. Yeah, where does the price want to go after that? I mean, yeah, maybe that's if she wants to go lower, but then at that point you might as well just make it all the way down to here. We'll see what ADA does. What is this going to be about? What is this ADA BTC price chart going to be about long term? Here's 2023 right here, end of 2022, beginning 2023. So at this time here, what's going to be happening? Do you have to go down here first, and then you're going to find something? I don't know. Does it then keep going down further? What is this thing going to be? What is this thing going to be? Is it going to be one of those? And then what does it then make another lower high, or does it make a higher high? So we're going to find out. But this amount of time with this angle, see, with this angle, it's hard to say what would happen here. So where is the spring? Here's like the spring of 2023. So maybe Cardano is going to move on its own time frame. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what accumulation looks like for these charts. But the proportion of this whole move is going to have to be to this move as well. And the energy of it all. So that's where we look at some of these indicators and like, yeah, you could totally go more into oversold, and you could be oversold for a little bit in the sense that like this could take a while still against BTC, but it could have its moves up, but it's not going to have its bigger cyclical move up like that. Okay. Not yet, at least. So that's Cardano, and wow. Let us move on to the final three that we're going to do for today. We've got, let's do KMD, below 1,000. So it is having its, there you go. So hit the fast forward button because this will get solved in just a sec. I guess I got some light on the computer here. Whoops. All right, let's go again. Come at me, bro. All right. Thanks for sticking around. We're getting to the pirate chain. Okay, KMD is dumping. It's looks like it's going into oversold on the weekly time frame. Oh boy, something has happened here that needs to just keep pressing fast forward if you are. Okay. Oh, come on. Just give it to us. Just there we go. Come on. Just like others, it's just dumping. And so here are examples of redistribution, but they just keep going lower. So your price chart can keep going lower. This is our example. Okay, price chart can keep going lower. But again, just like other things, this is going to have a turnaround at some point or not. And this one has taken a severe beating against BTC over its lifetime. But then when you look at the network and all of that, you know, this is just the KMD coin. But you look at the activity of the actual Komodo platform and the community and the ecosystem, and it's sometimes it's bigger than just the price of a coin. However, you also wonder like what's the fate of this particular coin, KMD, and yeah, that'll be interesting to see. But I'm going to get out of this here. This is too much right now. What's going on here? Might have to gonna have to stop this one right now for a second here. Let's see. Something happened when we switched. Is that? Well, okay, we're at, let's see what happens here when we open up Pirate Chain. No, I don't like this. All right, well, let's stop that share. And yeah, so I think overall the market is showing like better structure now. So that's pretty good. And we're going to see also though that the danger is right now, for example, BTC is just behind. It's okay. Here we go. I've got us going back again. So here we go. KMD, just to show us one more time, and I will get us in on that. Let me share the screen. There we go. All right. Sorry about that hiccup. Almost towards the end here. And yeah, you know, KMD breaking down this downtrend. So continually making retracements that are more than 100% retracements to the downside. And it did break down to the lower end, breaking down that Bollinger Band. Where does it stop? No one knows. Where does it go next? We don't know, but look, it's just going now just from positive momentum just now to negative momentum. And all of that positive momentum was actually downtrend. So that's pretty weak on the price of KMD. So next we go to Pirate Chain R against BTC. And for R against BTC, ooh, this is the daily, and I broke down below that 200-day moving average, and now it's in the 20-week as well. So this is signaling a move down. I don't think we're going to hold this this trend line, but maybe we do. But generally, I would say, well, okay, wait, don't let me get rid of that yet. But I would say generally the next best bet is, I mean, I don't know. Can you find support somewhere in here? Can you make this like a support zone horizontally? Because then you're making your higher high and you're making an accumulation zone and you're able to accumulate. But otherwise, are you really going to fully reset down to here? Is that going to be your next move? I mean, that would have been, that's wild. And it's possible, totally possible. But I think right now, you know, you want to hold kind of this level. Well, lower end of the Bollinger Band is down here, you know. So yeah, I think that's a fair place. Like if you can hold above this box, that's great, but I don't think that's happening unless you get back above the 20-week moving average. That's your only hope right now. But considering that, again, momentum-wise, you've had a bit of bout of positive momentum here, it's going to cross over bearish cross. And that means let's hope that this horizontal level can be true. And if we look at it, the lower end of that horizontal level, we can extend it down here if need to, but there's probably maybe historical price that relates over here anyway. So maybe this historical price chart would give a better idea of it. But yeah, so I think this can be the horizontal level we're looking for. This one for now is out of reach. And this one right now has been breached again to the downside, could not hold it. Only 1 week of support there. And now, oops, yeah, now it's done. Okay. We'll see what Pirate Chain looks like. Going forward, but just like everything else, it looks like we're going into an accumulation time. So you gotta look for something like that. Here's the beginning of 2023. I think that's our best bet for Pirate Chain. The danger with that though, well, I mean, I guess, yeah, because who cares about, so that's the beauty of this trend line here, is this trend line doesn't really matter because it's using this as a second touch point. So who cares about this touch point? If it goes sideways through here, even though it goes to the other side underneath, it doesn't matter because it invalidates this trend line anyway. Oops. Anyway, and then you can just move it anyway. Who cares? And it just becomes your base trend line anyway. So this trend line is meaningless until we find our point anyway, unless we're following this one, which we had carved out previously. I think you watched the previous video about Pirate Chain. Then there's this one. So then, and then that makes sense too, actually. Like if we look at this type of price energy from here to here, then yeah, here's Here's the spring of 2023. Here's the price action at the lower end here, and it can meet this type of trend line. It would create that trend line by being a touch with this touches and that touches. So yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense too. So I guess best case scenario here is watch for the price to find some sort of accumulation here. That would be ideal. Okay. So yeah, I think we're going to keep this because it still hasn't been broken, this trend line. But once we see it breaking and finding sideways move, then you're like, okay, accumulation time on pirate. Now, danger there is, of course, this whole thing becomes redistribution. That can exist. That can totally exist. And you're coming back down here. Okay, we've seen things happen that are crazier than that. So be prepared for anything, I think, is the lesson for all of us. Be prepared for anything. Well, yeah, it would be nice to hold this because that also gives us a nice channel here, but I mean, that's just playing channel line games. Okay, that's pirate chain. Look for accumulation here. And then ultimately, if this becomes an accumulation zone here overall, again, here's spring of 2023. So spring of 2023, bring it on if that's the case in terms of alt season against Bitcoin. Maybe it's a bit earlier for some, maybe even pirate chain. I don't know what it would look like, where it would happen. Or even if that's going to be the case, but that would be a nice shape of this type of crypto pattern against BTC, altcoin against BTC. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Our BTC on a long-term time frame, weekly price chart. It's like 1, 2, 3 weeks of bull action and how much weeks of bear action. I know there was a bit of bull weeks within. Okay, but yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, if you're watching and you were around at this time, and oh wow, you know, good on you. Now is your accumulation time, I hope. I'm wishing you very well around this. Again, none is financial advice, but trying our best, aren't we? And again, speaking of trying our best, I think the easiest and best thing to do is to get Bitcoin. None is financial advice. Did I say that yet? Reason being is because it, you know, the reason it's not advice at all is because look how much it can crash. And so who knows when you get in, but now would be a good time if I were ever to give advice. Be like, okay, why not get some now, and then we'll get some when it shows that it's accumulating. Now the problem is here is that we're now broken down below the Ichimoku cloud. That's significant for Bitcoin. So now the next target really is this 200 week moving average. But there's also the possibility of some sort of move back higher into the cloud, and then maybe by the end of 2022 can go higher. I don't know what this becomes like, in all honesty. Who's to say? I don't know if these play out in neo wave time and price relationships, or if they do other things, like they follow different style of behavior. Because yeah, you know, the volatility and wild swings is probably on just the next level. So yeah, I do think it can come back into this cloud, but now we have to acknowledge that we've significantly broken this channeling potential, and we're at the lower end of the Bollinger Band, okay, and we've broken down below the Ichimoku cloud, and we're at the lower end of all of that previous buying support, and we're now strongly into it. And in fact, the price has traded below that, so we've made a lower low. So it's just a matter of what's going to happen now. Where does the weekly candle close? What happens on the next weekly candle? And how does it interact with this Ichimoku cloud? Because I don't know how likely it is to stay here until this time. But now what happens with this Ichimoku cloud at that point? Does it come down and start twisting here and offer some more opportunity? That's possible, but at that point, we'll see. We'll see as it develops. I don't think you can hold sideways here below the cloud. I think either you bounce and you get you bouncing back in, and then you can play in the cloud, or you come down to this 200 week, and then maybe from there you kind of build. I don't know what this looks like here. I don't know how you get back above this cloud, and there's still, just like all the others, of course, we have to give the option of a big M formation. And does it come down? Like, that breaks a huge important structure on BTC. So is the M formation going to happen? I don't think it's going to happen to that degree. I think we've gotten our M formation, and I think it kind of starts at these levels here. Okay, so if we were to take this, go here. Good. So we still might need to come down towards this like 200 week moving average. Might even wick below. As long as you don't breach this price action, I think we're in a good position. But even then, even if it breaches it, I guess, like I said, it's gonna have to be a neo wave, Elliott wave. So because maybe that neo wave, Elliott wave method doesn't necessarily describe the price behavior of Bitcoin. We'll see. But at this point, that would give a decent M. And then you could reaccumulate, you could allow the cloud to shift. And then this is the end of 2022 right here. So there could be more accumulation into 2023, but more likely, maybe you get we'll move up at that point. I don't know though. Like, this is quite broken down. Best case scenario, and the only one that really seems to be calling is still like getting back into this cloud somehow by some miracle, and creating this kind of accumulatory zone. But yeah, like, just the fact that this cloud is broken down, I mean, you got to be back up in like the high 30s very soon, like by May and June. Now, having said that, this is the kind of capitulation that allows a fast turnaround. Fast down, fast up. And failed move down equals a strong move up. Especially you failed with this lower low. Failed to hold something down, failed to hold something down here and make it lower lows, but instead it's like a capitulation and pops back up, does whatever it needs to do, and then goes higher to a significant level. That's totally possible. Oops. I mean, I could totally see that, and in the sense that that's what happens if you fail move, fast move. Fail to the down, fast up. Fail to the up, fast down. But other than that, if that doesn't happen, then yeah, this becomes a massive M formation. It's crazy, wild. Then the next question is, can you hold above this level? And of course, as we know, anything is possible. But some things seem more likely than others. Does this even come and touch the 200 week moving average yet? I don't know. Like I said, still think there's potential. I think it probably does want to come and touch it though. Maybe not just yet. Maybe. See, here's the deal though. Okay, here's the deal breaker. If you come up and you fail at the cloud, then that'll confirm this dump down. Okay, the failed move down to the fast move up requires getting back into this cloud and then going higher. So, which will it be? Right now, it's pointing to the downside. What level is this? 12K. Wow. All right. Well, I think that's it for BTC. I don't really have much else to say. These are some levels to look at. And I don't know what's going to happen, but it'll be interesting to watch. Okay. All right. In terms of momentum, yeah, look, this is 2017, 2018 bull run. So you keep getting bigger momentums, but on bear market style, like bigger correction, cyclical to secular corrections, you know, like if this is considered a secular correction, because, okay, here's the deal. Last thing I'll say, oops, the last thing I'll say. The whole thing is a secular bull market. The whole thing is secular and it's a bull market. And within it, it has cyclical bulls and cyclical bulls and cyclical bears. So this move up is a cyclical bull, cyclical bear down, cyclical bull move up, cyclical bear down. And you can even say within, so maybe it depends what level you go, then this becomes a secular bear, and within it you have a cyclical bear and a secular bull and a cyclical bear, sorry, cyclical bull. So cyclical bear, cyclical bull, cyclical bear within a secular bear. But that secular bear really is only a cyclical bear within a secular bull. The whole thing is a secular bull. So really bull markets and bear markets can be relative, obviously. And yeah, so right now we're in a typically considered bear market. Fine. It's a correction. It's been a correction since over here. Even as we were going up, it was a correction. But now we're seeing that the correction is deeper, much deeper than was originally considered, although it was possible to come down here. So here we are. But momentum wise, you know, it has gone down a lot now. It's lower than it has been before in other cyclical bear markets within this big secular bull market. So yeah, it's expanding. It's like you just keep getting wider to the upside and to the downside. This was the widest it had been to the downside until it went so wide to the upside that now it's so wide down to the downside even more. So we're going to see how this plays out, but and what does it need to look like? How does this momentum even itself out like this or like this before moving higher? How long does that take? So we're going to see. And I guess, yeah, we're looking towards this time frame as like energetically time frame, end of 2022. But we'll see. It could come even sooner. That can come October-ish, November, whatever. Well, I guess that's all considered end of 2022. Okay, yeah, it looks like this is now recovery time and reaccumulation time. It's either that or even worse, it will be bigger M time. It's either bigger M time or it's some sort of accumulation here time. There's nothing wrong with accumulating between the gap, between this gap. Nothing wrong with accumulating here. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this looks. We'll see how the Ichimoku cloud changes. What kind of Kumo twist do we get? And we'll watch how the momentum indicators move. So we're breaking down to the downside. Let's look for some oversold. Does RSI end up going oversold? And what does it look like? Does it stay down there a while and chop around and the price really get wrecked? Or is it something softer than that? And we'll see. Or again, just like again, that option, Bitcoin can find its way back up after a week to 2 weeks. And here, it's possible. Nothing stopping it from doing that. And that again, just like everything else, would say something about what's happening with its network and its supply demand dynamics and for the price action. So we'll see. That's it for now though. Okay, wishing you all the love, peace, and happiness that you can manage. Thanks for being here. Goodbye.